Hey everybody, welcome back to That There Blue River Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the lounge here in the frosted tundra of Moline, Illinois.
We're getting Siberian, Alaskan winds here, people.
Yes, Mississippi is frozen through.
Is it really? You went over it today. I went over it. I didn't look.
Yeah, it's all the way across. I wouldn't walk across it, but there's
Hell no.
ice all the way across it.
I've always wanted to swim across that Mississippi River.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard of people doing that.
I've seen someone do it once.
Oh, really? Seen them?
Yeah.
Was it like a big to-do, like this guy's trying to do this swim across the Mississippi today at 4:30?
Nothing like that. It was at Princeton Beach, and there was a guy that said he could do it, so then they bet him he could see if he could do it. Swam all the way across.
And he did, and then he walked back around, or?
I think he swam back across, or maybe somebody went and picked him up.
Yeah.
Because it's all boats to get to Princeton Beach there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that'd be a hell of a swim.
Yeah, because you have to swim like at an angle.
Yeah, or else you'll go like a mile down the river.
Exactly.
Damn, that's crazy. The things people do for a couple of bucks. I bet you one beer.
A case of beer or something.
Yeah,
a couple bucks. I heard like before they put in the lock and dams, you could actually drive a car or a truck across the river when it was frozen.
Really?
Yeah.
And now what? Like the current is too bad from the dams?
Yeah, because the dams made the channel deeper.
Yeah.
So then it's harder to freeze when the water's going that fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get that. Speaking of dams. Speaking of cactus sand that I just bought, Davey watched me haul in 3 bags of
huge bags of cactus sand.
Oh, my back is killing me. Have you ever heard of sand? You heard about this crazy sand conspiracy?
No.
The Sand Mafia, Dave?
Sand Mafia, no.
This is episode 1 of Riftzilla.
Okay.
Me and Davey are I'm getting bored with some things. And so...
Yeah, the list was getting a little daunting, so break away from it.
And Davey had the bright idea for me to fuck with my mic right now and make all this weird noise. But he had the bright idea of just, hey, whatever you're into in the moment, bring it to the podcast, and I'm here for it.
Little things that you see, maybe write them down.
Yeah. I'm here for it. Dave's here for it. And you beautiful time travelers, you're here for it now.
Yes, you are.
I had the Sand Mafia, Dave. You're telling me you haven't heard of the Sand Mafia?
No.
They're running rampant.
Really?
Yeah, if you didn't know, sand is actually like the unsung hero of our lives.
It helps with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Especially manufacturing.
Yeah, it's one of the most extracted minerals in the world, and mostly with its use within construction.
Oh, like concrete and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
But sand it's a finite resource, just like water and diamonds and oil and stuff like that. And obviously many countries have large desert sand deposits.
Yes.
But you can't use that sand in construction.
Is it not pure?
Well, the wind has blown it around for so long that the granules are like round.
Yeah.
And when you get like seabed sand and stuff like that, it's like edged, so it like has grip. Okay. And that grip makes the concrete and stuff hold together.
Yeah.
And so sand near water sources is like the most valuable sand. The amount of sand used to build a house is generally like 200 tons.
Jeez.
And obviously that fluctuates between, like, if you just have a slab foundation and then you build a log cabin on it, that's different. But, like, we're here in the lounge and we got cinder blocks all around us.
Yeah, and glass probably too.
Oh, I didn't consider that.
Yeah.
To build like a large like hospital or like in office building or something, you're looking at 3,000 tons of sand.
Yeah.
1 kilometer of highway, 30,000 tons of sand. And then a nuclear power plant takes 12 million tons
of sand.
Because I think those like big stacks that you see, those Simpson nuclear plant comic stacks.
Cooling towers.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, we got maybe a couple of listeners that know a little bit about nuke plants now.
Yeah.
But it takes 12 million tons for a nuclear power plant to be built. So, like you said, other than concrete, and glass. It also contains silicon dioxide, and silicon dioxide is found in wine, cleaning products, detergent, paper, dehydrated foods, hairspray, toothpaste, cosmetics, and much, much more.
That's a lot.
Yeah, other minerals found in the sand are used in like electronic chips and paint.
Like silica.
Yes, yeah. Electronic chips, paints, rubber for tires, and even more than just those things with the amount of different materials inside sand, because it's not just little tiny rocks, it's minerals.
Right.
All minerals are rocks, but not all rocks are minerals.
Sounds good.
So in like Dubai, they artificially constructed this like island peninsula chain called the Palm in 2001.
Yeah, and they also have other artificially constructed islands farther out.
Yes. So going back to the Palms, they created this this construction for over $12 billion, and it used 12 million tons of sand dredged from their coastline. During the construction of the Palm, they also embarked on a larger scale project. I believe they call it the World, and that's like a more of like a chain of islands. From what it seemed like, they were trying to build it in the shape of the world and kind of have things in locations that would be like
represent the world.
Yeah, big countries and areas and stuff like that.
That's weird. I just watched a video where some vlogger was like, I don't know who he was, but he said he was like the first one to stay there because they're like these villas that you can rent, and they like he
was
did
it
like
this at the Palm or the World?
The World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so he was like, so they let him stay there and like kind of showed him what the gist of it would be. Like you can cater in all this food and have your own private pool and your own little villa,
which is cool. I wonder how much that costs.
Yeah.
So this World Archipelago is what they called it, which I think is a chain of islands.
Yes.
It cost them $15 billion and over 30 million tons of sand. They started it in 2003, and during the financial crisis, it ended up stopping at 2008. Only one of the islands have been developed commercially so far, and the rest are like deserted.
Yeah, it looks just big
chain of sand islands.
Sand islands, yeah, and one of them had a couple of villas on it.
Yeah.
But it also had running water and plants and all this stuff, electricity.
And then these projects have exhausted most of the area's resources, natural resources, despite being in the Gulf states at the edge of the desert, which they can't use desert sand because it'll wash away too easily in the water. So not only do they need it for the cement, they needed it for just pouring into the water.
Yeah.
So it kind of like has grip to stay there. And then originally, like, you would find sand deposits wherever you are in the world, and that's what you would go and get that sand to build your roads or your houses nearby.
Yeah.
But the majority of those have been depleted.
Okay.
So like just natural sand deposits.
Yeah, well, it takes millions of tons for roads and all. Yeah, I can see them being depleted pretty quick.
Yeah. And so the next closest thing is generally deposits of sand near river and lake beds.
Okay.
But dredging these areas caused like massive flooding.
Yeah.
And like totally tore up ecosystems and stuff.
Erosion and stuff.
Yeah. Now companies have turned to the ocean for sand. And so these like huge $1 million dredging ships suck up hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of sand for free.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pay for the ship and pay for the oil. And then in Singapore, at the southern end of Asia, pretty close to Australia.
Yeah.
They exploded in wealth over the past 30 years or so, and with that, they more than doubled their population. So they've been pouring sand into the ocean to increase their like land mass.
Yeah.
To be able to build houses and stuff like that.
Okay.
And Dubai and Singapore are one of those almost futuristic looking cities where like they have humongous skyscrapers, and all the skyscrapers use cement.
Yeah.
And then all the roads in between.
Also cement.
Yeah, and who knows how deep they go, maybe underground parking garage type things.
Yeah.
So they have transformed like 130 square kilometers of the ocean into land. And they plan to finish another 100 square kilometers by 2030. So now a square kilometer, is that like is a kilometer a football field?
That's 100 yards.
But a
kilometer, it's what?
A meter is like 3 yards.
Roughly. A meter stick, yardstick, they're rough. Maybe it's about the same.
I mean, give or take an inch.
Yeah. Because like what, a kilometer is a third of a mile, roughly?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
3.
Because if you do a 5K, it's only about like 2.5, 3 miles.
I was thinking 1.5, 2 miles.
Or a 5K?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
All right.
We could look it up, but we're not going
Call in if you know.
So Singapore, after having used all of its own sand reserves, started buying up neighboring countries' sand.
Yeah.
So much so that Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia have now banned sand trade with Singapore.
Oh, so they don't deplete their own stockpile?
Yeah. And it's gone so far that they have been accused of using illegally acquired sand from their neighboring ocean coastlines to continue their building.
So they're poaching the sand.
Black market sand, Dave. That's how I got into this.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering what some of the bigger black market trades were, and I was like, drugs, maybe human organs?
Yeah.
But sand?
Right.
So there's this huge criminal enterprise stealing giant quantities of ocean bed and beach sand. And a lot of it is like fake companies with workers with like fake names, so that everything on the surface and paperwork looks legit.
Okay.
But you go to these places and either like the building number doesn't exist,
Yeah.
or it's like a completely different building.
So it's like a shell company.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of different ways they've been doing it. In Morocco, the beaches have been stripped pretty good by just guys with donkeys.
Yeah.
And they just take these donkeys down to the beach like every single day, maybe sometimes a couple of times a day.
Yeah.
And they just load these big bags on the donkeys.
So they're not like dragging some behind the donkeys to collect it. They're just like filling up sandbags.
Yeah. And then they've taken so much of the sand that the beaches just look like rocky, moon planets or something. And as the construction companies don't disclose the information where they get this sand, the sand in the concrete surrounding the steel like support structure of the building is just slowly corroding the steel.
Okay.
Because the sand has salt in it.
Right.
And
it's not probably properly sterilized or anything.
Filtered or something. I'm sure they could do something like that, but they don't.
Yeah.
And so like they're building all these quick buildings out of concrete, and then eventually this salt will, rust through the rebar and stuff.
Yeah.
And probably collapse.
Yeah.
In India, they go so far as to call it the Sand Mafia. And it's an organization that, in areas where people can't find work, they're the best paying gig.
Yeah.
But by the time all the workers get paid and the officials get paid off, then people only have enough money to get by.
Yeah.
So they got to go back and work for this
do more
illegal
sand
enterprise.
stuff. Yeah.
And in that way, it kind of reminds me of like the drug cartel, where they only give you enough to need them again.
Yeah.
Whether you be addicted to drugs or needing money for food.
Right.
Either way, it's just enough to keep hooking you along.
It almost seems like most mining practices around the world where they just pay their workers just enough, and so then they have to go back and keep mining more stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This slave labor is not great.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just realizing. And then so they pay people off. So in some areas they do their business in broad daylight, where the corrupted, watchful eye of the government can see, as long as they're getting their palms greased. Or sometimes they do it at night, like sometimes trespassing through people's property to get to places with sand. Generally like riverbeds and stuff. Or like I've heard stories of them threatening or attacking or even killing people that either get in their way, try to get them to stop, confront them, or if you go to the authorities that aren't corrupt or are corrupt, maybe you don't know, and they're like, hey, just so you know, Dave is over here telling me about you guys digging sand, so I just need you to take care of that.
Yeah, they go harass Dave or make him disappear.
Yeah,
that would suck though. You have a nice like beachfront property or something, and then you wake up one day and your whole beach is gone.
Yeah.
It's just craggy rocks.
And so some of the other ways they do it are like people. I saw some videos of people diving underwater and filling bags or buckets with sand. And then you have the big dredging ships, and so as you dredge the sand from the ocean floor, and a lot of the times the easiest place to do that is the closer to mainland. So you're digging up these huge holes of sand, and as the tide comes in and currents take place and waves and gravity, the sand slowly washes from the beach back into the ocean.
To fill those holes up.
And you see a lot of that in like Florida and the Carolinas and lots of other places that are like essentially third world. I saw these people, the beach had been eroded so far that the water was up to these people's like soil on their property. And I'm looking through my notes to see if I can find where it was. And they were just like putting like scrap metal and trash and big rocks down so that
just trying to make like a levee or a dike or something.
So their property and their house doesn't just wash into the water.
So I've seen people do that along like the Duck Creek or the Mississippi, where they'll dump a load of rocks to keep their banks from eroding.
And so not only are you affecting the land, but when you dredge, you're grinding up, or you're digging up a bunch of coral reefs and fish and crabs.
Probably
totally fucking up the ecosystem.
Right, sucking up a stingray or something.
Although they have it coming. Rest in peace, Steve Irwin, the GOAT. But and then that affects like sharks and big fish, and whales and stuff, and then even people, because a lot of these third world countries that are getting their sand dredged illegally, they live off fishing. Whether it be they go fish to make money, or people have to buy the fish that they catch to eat. So it's just like this huge big circle of life. Circle of life.
Fucking with the earth like that, there's got to be consequences.
So globally, like 75 to 90% of the beaches are going through some sort of retreat into the ocean. And that that may be a couple of inches to being completely gone. And in several places in the United States, beachfront properties have been so absorbed by the water lines that there have been cases where like they have to take out a whole row of houses because they're like almost underwater. And then the people behind them now have beachfront property. But then they start to see their foundations start to slip. And it's only a matter of time until theirs goes away.
And that's kind of weird, because that's the whole global warming thing where it's like, people don't affect the environment. Like, I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah, pretty heavily. Yeah, so like 9 out of 10 beaches in Florida are depleting. And like what happens a lot of times is they built hotels or parking lots or highways or homes like right on the beach, and the beach kind of needs to fluctuate. So like the tide coming in will push some sand in, and then the tide coming out will take some sand out.
Yeah.
But with those big structures there, the tide pushes, maybe some sand up, but then it takes more sand back with it.
Yeah, because it's hitting concrete and stuff.
And so areas that can invest in beach replenishment therapy is what they call it.
Yeah.
They pretty much just like dredge sand from, like 100 feet out,
Yeah.
and then shoot it back onto the beach.
Okay.
And but this causes another hole, and in most cases the relocated sand is back to where it was within about a year.
Yeah, it seems like a circle.
Yeah, so there's guys making tons of money on that. Just like every year you gotta
come back and redredge.
Yeah.
See, and the thing is, if you have a couple of shell corporations, you have one that takes the sand and sells it to construction, and you have another one that shoots the sand on the beach to replace the sand that you dredged, and so you're working it from both ends.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And so another thing I kind of came across was, so what it sounds like the ecosystem would be is that it rains and snows and dries out, and the water from mountains and shit carries like sand deposits all the way down to beaches.
Yeah.
Well, in the United States, we've built roughly one new dam every year, or one new dam every day.
Oh.
Since we became a country.
Okay.
So it was like 2025 minus 1776 is 249. 249 times 365 days in a year is 90,885 days. And there are an estimated 91,804 dams in the U.S., according to the Army Corps of Engineers. And I think that article was in 2023.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's almost more, right?
Right.
And so it's estimated that with all these dams clogging up the rivers, a quarter of all the sand reserves, and this is kind of estimated across the planet.
Yeah.
I was using the U.S. as an example.
Okay.
So the water and the sand comes down from the mountain and gets stuck behind a dam.
Yeah.
And then, maybe some of it gets through into the riverbed.
Right.
Maybe it makes it down to the ocean. But even then, they're also dredging rivers.
Right.
At times. And in the U.S., I believe it's much more regulated.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of places in the world that are not. Oh, and then you have, illegally acquired sand.
Right.
And then this... so due to the lack of regulation, 50% of river sand will never make it to beaches. Which it almost, like that life cycle of sand kind of reminds me of like sea turtles.
Okay.
Like you have 20 sea turtles that hatch, and then they're getting picked off by birds and crabs.
Yeah, and maybe 5,
octopus.
10 make it.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, a whole black market around sand.
You would never think. So it's like a non-issue until you look at it and you're like, oh, crap, there's another thing I got to stay awake at night thinking about.
Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah.
It's all right.
So yeah, next time you buy and fill up your kids' play sand, just remember, or whatever your cat shits in, just remember, just remember that's a finite resource.
Could be some black market.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're getting your kids' play sand off the coast of Malaysia from some donkeys.
Right. Yeah, but that kind of reminds me of Into the Wild. You ever seen that movie?
It sounds familiar.
In one part, he jumps into does a canoe on the...
That's not Matt Damon that gets attacked by the bear?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a Revenant.
Oh, okay.
Into the Wild is about the guy who ran away from home and ended up in Alaska trying to live in a bus.
Okay, I guess maybe I haven't seen that.
Well, in one part, he's in a kayak and he jumps into the Colorado and he follows it all the way down to Mexico.
Okay.
And he talks about how by the time he gets to Mexico, it's just basically a little culvert of water. When it started as this huge raging river, but because of all the dams and diverting the water to like California and stuff, it just, by the time he gets to Mexico, there's nothing there basically. That just kind of reminded me of the sand issue.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We've done a number on this place.
Yeah.
What were you into, Davey?
I a quick one. North Korea
Okay.
has banned hot dogs.
What the? Don't they know how good they are?
Yeah, but they think it is too much of our culture, and they don't want their people getting a taste of freedom.
Well, yeah. Why don't they just call them communist wieners?
Or freedom dogs or
Freedom
something.
dogs,
Yeah. No, I just thought that was funny because that's just weird propaganda stuff. Because I don't think you can get a hot dog and then just think, "Oh, America," and then that's going to make you want to revolt or like want more human rights.
You're saying that if we kill all of our leaders, we can have more of these things,
Right?
Hey, I know a couple of people that might do that.
Yeah, get on board for some hot dogs. Anarchy.
Anarchy dogs.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my new hot dog cart. Is Anarchy dogs.
Anarchy dogs. And then I also saw this blurb about this guy named Hans Niemann,
Okay.
who was like a so-so kind of chess player, but then during the shutdown, he was playing like they would play online or like Zoom chess games,
Okay.
and he beat a couple of like the grandmasters, and he got called out for cheating because you're on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
You might have a thing in your ear. You might have people like checking what the best next move will be, or like using AI. And so then when the pandemic was over, he played this one chess master it live, like one-on-one. And yet he still got accused of cheating
Okay.
because like he was kind of losing and then his strategy changed a little drastically. So then they thought maybe he was starting to get like cues somehow.
Okay. I
And
like where this is going.
So they like patted him down to make sure there wasn't like any wires or anything. But
then he played another game with him, butt naked, and he's still got.
which is funny. They say that's the progression of this, but Elon Musk
Okay. Okay. Here we go.
proposed that this guy was getting Morse code through his butthole
Yes.
because he had a remote control anal bead. And so they were like doing Morse code to his butt to let him know which places to move.
And his face was like all swirled up the whole game.
Yeah, but this guy Ran Shijim developed this program, and then he open sourced it to make sure that like everybody can get their fingers in it, so that he could come
Just
up
like this guy's butthole.
Yeah. And to see if he could write a program that would vibrate anal beads with Morse code in a way that you could figure out like, knights 3 to king 2 or, and then somehow your butt would be able to tell you. But they were saying that the butt maybe is not sensitive enough to like pick up on subtle vibrations.
I've watched enough videos on the internet to know that the butt is very sensitive.
I don't know, but like, yeah, so it's like up in the air. They're like, it's a possibility, but they're not sure if you could actually like read Morse code through your butthole.
They're just like really trying to get this guy.
Yeah, and so next time they're like, well, if he ever does play, next time he's gonna have to do it naked.
Or like in an iron box.
Yeah, or like they have to check all your orifices before you start playing.
And you know what? I would be like, sure, do that, but he's got to do it too. Like the other guy's
got to do it too. Yeah. Not just the guy accused of cheating.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was weird that the guy actually like started to do a whole program to actually see if it's plausible.
I mean, I think it's more insane that Elon Musk is weighing in on this.
Yeah.
Like,
well, once you buy Twitter, I guess you just tweet on every article you see.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, from what I have heard, it's not like anybody is tweeting for him.
Yeah.
He's certainly got the phone in his hand.
Right. He's at the Kofifi moment.
Kofifi moment. He's had a lot of those lately.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of free time on your hands, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, when you're too busy running the world, you got time to weigh in on everything.
Yeah. But I also don't know anything about Elon Musk, but he seems more like an idea guy. And then he just has a bunch of people behind him that will make his visions a reality.
And that's really what I think too, is like, people say he's smart, but like, he's essentially just like a rich guy that can throw money at problems.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Hot Tub
Time Machine
2?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, there's the one guy who comes up. It's not Google, but it's like Rugel or whatever his name is.
Rugel, okay.
And then he keeps like having these meetings, and he's like, "I need you guys to make a modem." And they're like, "What's that?" And he's like, "You can send stuff through the air to different computers." And they're like, "What?" And he's like, "Figure it out." And they're like, "Where are you getting these ideas from?" And he's like, "I just get them. I got 1 million of them." But he's pretty much just because he goes
getting into the time machine and something.
Well, because he stayed in the past, so he knew all the stuff from the future.
Okay.
But he's being the first one to do it
Okay.
before everybody else. And that's kind of like what Elon Musk feels like. Not that he's a time traveler, but he's just like...
Not like you beautiful people. You're not Elon Musk, don't worry.
No, you guys are great, awesome time travelers. But he, you're like, it'd be really cool if a car could drive itself. And they're like, okay, well, how do we do that? And then he's like, well, let's kind of, maybe I know some stuff, but then I get a bunch of other people to come in and figure out the whole logistics of it.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, he just puts down like a sci-fi book.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we should make rocket ships that land themselves and don't blow up. And it's like, well, that's a good idea. How do we do that?
Well, you probably use GPS and thrusters.
Yeah.
Like
we got drones that can like float around and do stuff. Like, let's put a bunch of fans on it. I don't know.
Just kind of like that, but with jet thrusters or rocket thrusters. You guys can figure that out, right?
And you're going to be working night and day until you do.
Yeah, because we got investors.
Yeah. And we got investors to pay.
Yeah.
All you really smart people from India can't go to any other jobs until and not to get political.
Figure this out. We're gonna sleep on the floor till we get this done.
Yeah, the best quote I heard about Elon Musk was from some guy that worked close with him, and he was like, Elon Musk wants to save the world, but as long as he's the guy to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's real evil genius shit.
Kinda. Yeah.
Like Lex Luthor or...
Yeah, the evil genius stuff would be like, your rockets caused the problem, but then you're the one that fixes the ozone layer. So then they're like, hey, good job. It's like, haha, little did they know, my shit's fucked it up.
Yeah, let's solve a problem and then create the problem first.
Yeah. Yep.
Good one, Dave.
Thanks.
I'm gonna buy one of those butt plugs and
cheat on, become a chess master.
Yeah, become a chess master.
Yeah. Do you have another one?
No, I blew my load on that.
On the sand one?
Yeah.
There was in southwest Colorado, in Montego County, on the Uncompahgre Plateau, Uncompahgre.
Yep. That's it.
A bunch of ranchers put their cattle up there
for
the summer months to graze. And when they went to bring them down for this winter, collectively, they were missing over 200 head of cattle.
Holy smokes.
Most of them, the majority of them were calves.
Really?
Yeah. And they said that it's normal to lose one or two to like accidents, predators, or like some poisonous plants they'll get into. But they can't account for 200 of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, did you say how many they put up there?
Oh, they're like their whole like.
Okay, I
thing.
mean, I don't know.
Like thousands,
Okay.
but still 200 of them.
Yeah, I mean, 10% would be a lot if it was 2,000 and you lost 200, or even if normally you have 20,000 and you lose 2, which is 0.01% or
Right.
something, even losing 10 times that amount or 100 times that amount or whatever.
Yeah, because there's cattlemen that have flown over it and haven't found it. There's ones that ride out there in horses and they're 4-wheelers.
Hella cowboys.
And they've really done their due diligence.
Wow.
But they haven't found them or any traces of them.
No traces. Not
Yeah.
like a bunch of bones piled up.
Right, so it's not like there's a bunch of dead cows up there. Like maybe they all stampeded and fell off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they feel like there's something nefarious happening. And because it's like 75,000 acres, it's really hard to search.
Oh, yeah.
Or to like set up a perimeter, and make it a crime scene.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you do like a grid search, by the time a day is over and you move to a different portion of the grid, the cow, like if they were still all alive,
Yeah.
the cows could have even just moved to a different area.
Right. And now it's all covered in snow, so they can't do any more investigation. But they estimate that
Thanks a lot, Biden. Snow.
the dollar amount for the missing calves was anywhere from 300,000 to 400,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That'll get you to notice some cows missing.
yeah, and though they're calves, they say they probably weigh between 500 and 700 pounds. So
I mean,
to
well,
move 200 500-pound cows,
yeah.
that you would think there would be tracks or something.
The black helicopters.
Yeah.
Is that a shout out to another episode? The
Cattle mutilation.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, and one of the ranchers said it's odd that it's mostly calves missing, and that's another red flag. But this whole thing was just a blurb. Like, I saw a 20-second thing on it, and I saw a 2-minute thing on it, which was actually like where I got the transcript from this, and nothing else was said about it.
There's sand.
Yeah.
There's a huge black market of sand. Nobody's talking about it.
Right. And
This is where you go to get your real information,
right.
people.
I mean, when a bunch of ranchers lose a bunch of cow, and then we're just like, we can't find them, but keep an eye out for this brand just in case. And then,
But also, Elon Musk is sleeping over at the president's house. We got to talk about that instead.
right. Yeah, and one of the reporters was like, what about aliens? And of course the sheriff's like, well, someone did bring that up, but we haven't really seen any evidence to that either.
we know the signs.
Yeah, we didn't see any lights in the sky. But of course, when it's up on a
mountain,
secluded plateau, who's actually watching those skies over there?
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if it could have been like a cave-in or something. Like
a sinkhole or something.
Yeah. What was that? Did we talk about a sinkhole? A guy had a big hole on his property.
Oh, that's Mel's hole.
Mel's hole.
It's a coast to coast.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have I guess you could consider. You'd think maybe they all start hanging out together because they're the same age or something, and then the ground just collapses into a cave.
Yeah, but you would think maybe they would see like a sinkhole or something if they're flying over it or using drones and stuff.
That's true. A sinkhole would be pretty easy to spot.
Yeah, if it wasn't there before. Yeah.
We'll get to the bottom of this on this episode.
On this episode.
Right after these sponsors.
Yes.
And we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah. And then the only other thing I have is about the Guardian Angels.
Okay, what are those?
You've never heard of
Well, I mean, I've heard of theoretical Guardian Angels.
Not the Guardian Angels? The Red Beret guys?
Oh, no.
No?
Uh-uh.
Well, I want to say I thought they were started in Chicago, but according to the article I was reading, it was founded in New York in 1979.
Okay.
By a Curtis Sliwa. And it was basically he was tired of all the crime in New York.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
So he got a band of guys to get together and do like patrols. And they would
Were these just guys, or were they like experience in something?
Well, they would train him. He would train him because he
okay.
was ex-military.
Okay.
So then they would get trained in like hand-to-hand, like judo and stuff like that.
You know your judo well.
Yeah, and they would start patrolling, and they would do subways a lot,
Okay.
or like Times Square.
This
and,
does sound familiar now.
yeah, and they had a chapter in Chicago, and in the early 2000s, we actually had a chapter here in Davenport
Really?
that would go out and patrol on Saturdays and
I
stuff.
want to bring this back.
Yeah, because like one of the aldermans was a, what do they call that? Like a honorary guardian angel.
Oh, okay.
And it showed him on the news, like walking through the Sky Bridge and just like checking alleys and just making sure that the people
Shining flashlights.
like in the district or in downtown Davenport are kind of taken care of on the Saturdays and Sundays. If there's a lady in the alley throwing up, they're going to be like, hey, gotta make sure you're okay. Do you have a ride? Do you need to walk to your car? That kind of thing.
Okay.
But then one of them, of course, was like, got a little too rambunctious.
One rotten apple spoils the bunch.
Well, because that one was supposedly a guy had a gun. And so the guy broke his arm. But then the gun went flying, and the story is that his friends must have picked it up and ran off because when the actual cops came, they got the guardian angel for assault because he broke the guy's arm. And he's like, no, the guy had a gun. And they're like, well, we don't have a gun. And nobody said they saw a gun. So then after that, it kind of put a sour taste in people's mouth.
And where did this part take place?
It was at like some bar in downtown Davenport.
It was locally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and then they looked at that guy's background, and then they're like, well, what kind of people are we having to be the guardian angels when you have this like ruffian criminal as one of your like chiefs or captains or whatever? So it kind of fizzled out here. But in New York, a lady got set on fire.
Oh, in a subway?
In the subway,
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess people just like watched her burn. Like nobody came to her aid.
That's crazy.
So the original guy from the Guardians Angels was like, all right, that's enough. So then he reformed it, and they're going to start patrolling again in New York.
Tight.
Yeah,
Vigilante justice.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. And the whole article that I got, they don't just do, they make sure bad people aren't doing bad things, but they're also doing wellness checks on the growing homeless population.
Yeah.
And they're handing out water.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say you can hand out water or sandwiches or something.
Yeah, and then like if they're having like medical emergencies, because I guess one lady was like calling for help and was like throwing up, and they had to like call an ambulance, and one of the volunteers was like too shook and had to like back off. But that kind of looks staged because they have a picture of her like just crying.
Oh, you printed out pictures, Dave. Look at you.
Yeah, because that one they're like, oh, the one guardian angel couldn't take it, so she had to step off the train. But it kind of looks a little staged that she's just staring directly at the camera with tears coming down her face.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that distraught, are you going to let the cameraman from Action News New York?
News.
Well, it's like AM New York or something, just take a picture directly in your face. But
I agree.
But he also, the PR person for the mayor of New York was saying that this guy's kind of doing it as a publicity stunt.
You'll have that.
But he's like, I just want to bring awareness.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can do to bring awareness is to get out there and show that you can have compassion for these people and help them if they need help, or keep the weirdos from bothering people, you know? Because it's easy to say, but if you got three big guys with you and you're all wearing this kind of a uniform, and you're like, hey, leave that lady alone, or hey, stop trying to take that guy's shoes, you know?
Yeah, a uniform gives you at least like, and it could go the other way too, like, you know, like a Hell's Angel vest, you know?
Yeah.
But and people certainly could abuse a uniform, but people abuse a lot of things.
Yeah, but it's also cool to see, even if, you know, you just say, hey, get out of here, and you're not like trying to detain them, or you're just using your cell phone to call, it's also puts up a good like example for just normal people to be like, oh, if these guys can do it and they're not the cops, maybe I can see something, say something, and kind of help
For sure. See something, say something always.
Yeah.
Even if it's calling the cops, and that's tough because sometimes the cops make things worse.
Yeah. I get that. But in certain situations, you kind of need the police.
They're all, at some point, that's all you got.
Because, I mean, if someone's beating someone up, you can maybe, like, push them away and be like, hey, break it up. But
But if you break his arm, then now you're in trouble.
Yeah, or if the guy's on something and now he's kicking your ass, like, you might need, like, hey, I need a cop over here.
Yeah, I mean, I could take a couple of punches, but not that I want to.
Right. Because I've heard stories. There's, like, this one comedian that told a story where this guy was harassing a lady on the subway.
Oh, keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. And he thought he'd be like, hey, stop. And the guy came up and he felt like he got punched.
Yeah.
He took the punch, but then he was like kind of woozy. And I think he got a crack in on the guy and the guy ran away. And everybody around him was like, hey, you okay? And he's like, what? And he pulled his hand away and his face was all bloody.
Yeah.
Because the guy got him with a knife.
Yeah. And like he has a huge scar now. I've seen that.
You've seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy is hella funny too.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. Yeah, but sometimes, it doesn't pay to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if they're going to stab you instead of... I mean...
You get stabbed in the face for protecting a lady. You kind of got one coming to you, like...
Yeah.
You got a free ticket into
You got a free ticket
past
upstairs.
the pearly gates.
Yeah. You got some karma points.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I just thought that was neat that the guy, the original founder of the Guardian Angels, was like, maybe we should not turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if it was just this one publicity stunt, at least he's out there, like...
Inspiring. He has inspired me to go look for trouble and stop it.
Trouble. Well, at least if you see something, say something.
Oh, right, yeah.
Be like, hey. Cause
hey, you.
Yeah, because, I mean, if they can get the attention off somebody beating up their old lady... Mm-hmm. And they're coming after you, even if you're like a bitch and like run away. Maybe she can get away. Maybe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see something, say something.
Yeah.
Is that all you had, Dave?
Yeah.
That was a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. But is there anything else going on in your world?
In my world? It's work in this cold-ass weather.
It's hard to get outside. I'm doing a segment on a podcast now.
Yeah.
Black Magic TV. I'm sure we've talked about him before.
Yeah. You did an interview with them at TorqueFest.
At TorqueFest, yeah. And so actually maybe I'll repost that.
Yeah, and I think one of them I watched, you were like a guest on there, and we talked about the podcast a little bit and about your the TorqueFest and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've done a couple of lives with him, and this is going to be... So he has a regular podcast where he interviews people, and I was on that. And then every Wednesday, 7 to 9 Central is what his tentative plans are. We're still kind of getting bugs out and stuff, but I made an art for it. And
it looks very suspicious.
What do you mean?
Looks kind of like this Blue Ribbon Lounge.
I'm not gonna
Gypsy
lie,
lady.
Just inspired.
Just inspired, yeah. But that's a wizard.
Also, I made that art, so I can rip it off. Too.
I know. Just say, but that one's also a wizard and a little more cartoony.
But we're gonna do a question and answer segment, and it's gonna be called "Questions from the Crystal Orb."
Okay.
Because his interviews are more car culture type stuff. But we have a little bit of fantasy fun on the live streams.
Yeah, don't you guys... He watches some anime shows sometimes too, right?
Oh, we were doing a Black Magic movie club for a little while.
Okay.
He was, and I was watching some of them too.
Yeah.
But that was pretty fun. And it's just kind of coming back now, so it'll slowly be more structured in the future.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually helping another local guy start a podcast. He had all the equipment for it. 95% of it. He needed another cable and microphone stands, which is a funny thing to kind of miss. But,
yeah.
Because he had really nice equipment.
Well, you would think like, oh, we can just hold it, but when you're doing it an hour, you'd be surprised how quick your arm gets tired.
Yeah. But he owns a barber shop, and he does a lot of stuff for the black community in the Quad City area. doesn't have a name yet. I think the first episode I'm gonna be interviewing him to be able to like just kind of learn how to record and what buttons to press and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll have any more to do after that, and maybe he'll just hit me up if he has questions. But I look forward to a little bit of helping the community.
Yeah, doing a little producing.
Yeah, it'll be with that and Blackmagic TV. It'll be nice to be on the other side of the computer screen.
Yeah, not having to do all the edits.
Yeah. Although it's gotten a lot easier because I do a lot less of them.
Yeah, well, we've gotten better.
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
Not a lot of ums and ahs.
Yeah. And hey, thanks a lot, Davey, for coming up with this format. It has made it easier.
Yeah, and it seems less stressful because sometimes we hit the list and it's like, you just kind of have to force yourself to do the research, even though you find out cool facts and it ends up being fun.
Yeah.
But
this is just a different type of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's all I had.
Yeah, so let us know if you like this new format.
Yes.
And
we're always taking suggestions, whether one of us looks into it or both of us.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to not do topics if it's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, remember to rate, view, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Share this. Cause,
if you want.
Yeah, but I'm a numbers guy.
Oh, you're a real number. What are the numbers, Dave? Why don't you tell me that?
I just want to say that our last New Year's with Hollywood Dave was not doing the numbers that he normally does.
Really?
Yeah, and I was kind of disappointed about that.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll share it too.
Maybe.
I could like and subscribe. Couldn't I?
Yeah.
Shouldn't I do that?
Yeah.
That seems like the minimum I could do. Well, thanks so much for listening. Hope you had a good time. Learned a little bit something new.
Yeah.
And remember, be good to yourselves.
Yes. And remember, ain't never done nothing.